Hey guys, good morning. It's June 25th, 2021. I'm Kimberly Jolly from Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm so excited that today is the finishing for Sewcialites. So Sewcialites has been our free program where we gave you 36 different blocks for free in 3 different sizes. And today I'm going to give you tips on working with triangle paper that is in a bigger section. I'm also going to give you tips on how to sew your blocks together in a chain piece fashion. And then after that, I'm going to go over all my quilting progress with all of my friends like Lori Holt, Lisa Bonjean, Corey Yoder, Riley Blake. And at the end, I am going to do a strip set demo, and I'm going to talk about how I do my strip sets, which is pretty different. So that'll be super exciting for you guys to watch. I'm going to jump right into Sewcialites, and I have already pulled all my finishing out. So this is my finishing pattern. There are a lot of different layouts that different people have put online, so I'm going to follow mine. But today, one of the questions that we get a lot is how to, when you have a lot of foundation paper. For example, when you have a big piece of fabric and you need to do it, how do you keep it flat? So I'm going to go over that today. And if you are, just refer to your pattern, but if you're doing the 3-inch size, you'll need 3-inch paper. If you're doing the 6-inch block, you'll need 6-inch paper. So that's H300 or H600. And then the larger one, we don't have triangle paper that big. So today, I just kind of wanted to do a little demo to start with how, when you have all this, how do you keep it where it's accurate? Because if you're just doing 2, it's really easy to keep it nice and flat. But if you've got this big thing, what you need to do is, the key is to keep it 100% flat when you're working with it. So you can either pin it or have a flat bed surface. Now, at home, what I have is I have my machine inside a cabinet. And because it's inside a cabinet, when I'm sewing, my top is flush with my machine bed. So I have added this Sew Steady to my table to show you the best way to get accurate half square triangles. And this time I'm using a bigger piece than I need. This would be using all of one fabric, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to stitch all of this and keep it nice and flat. And it's just a technique you can use for lots of things, not just this quilt. So when you're working with half square triangle paper, just make your paper a little bit bigger. Don't get too small. So 1/4 inch is good. I'm going to use a smaller stitch length, and I'm going to show you how I do triangle paper. Okay. Now, when I stitched, I tried to stitch exactly on the line, and you can tell I did. Now, you need it to stay flat, so you just flatten it. So I'm going to do all the lines one way first. So keep it flat. Do the next line. Now here, you can either go all the way over here, or you can go this way. I'm going to just keep it flat and go this way. But the key is keeping the paper and your 2 fabrics as flat as possible. And that's why having something like this will help. And a lot of machines do come with a bed. And then I can go back and just flatten. Now you can do this with pins too, but I find that if you just flatten with your hands, you're going to get the best results. And just to show you, if I did it this way, which is what I do mostly on camera, there's no way to get it flat. So you're trying to flatten it as you go and you're not going to get the best results, which is okay if you're doing a couple, but if you're doing a whole sheet, you need to flatten as you go. Now when you're doing triangle paper, you can pivot and turn, but I never do that. I just flatten. I don't know, I just have never preferred to do that. And so from the top camera, you can see it's just as flat as when we started. Now, if you started seeing ripples and your paper was puckering up, you're gonna have smaller half square triangles. So if you do it with a flat surface, it's gonna work out. And I'm gonna keep going. Just turn and flatten. And if you get over here, you could roll this up kind of to get it out of your way. It's not gonna hurt it. Okay, so then just make sure you hit all your lines. And I did. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. And then when you look at it, it's flat here and it's flat here. And then you just cut it apart. I'll just cut it apart and show you how I cut it apart, and that's how you do half square triangles. I just wanted to show how if you're doing a lot at one time, the key is to have a flat surface. And then here, I'll probably just cut and do little sections. So I'd probably cut there. I don't even know what I'm going to use these for. The most important thing is to cut directly on that solid line. So right here, I can see there's a tiny bit of white right here. Right there. So I want to get that off, because that'll give it, I don't want it to be too big. And then from here, just cut as accurately as you can right in the center of that solid line. And then these are going to be your seam allowance, so you don't have to be as accurate. And then you just pull your paper off. You can bend it if you want it first. Your paper will come right off if you've got your seam allowance small enough. And then you would just press. And we've done a ton of pressing all of these weeks. So that's my tip on making your half square triangles where they're accurate. Now, if you got this all done and you turned this over and you had a big old lump or something, you would want to make sure you either start over or trim down or something. So that's my tip for you today. That's my first tip. I've got 3 really good tips for you today. So this is my first tip. My second tip is I'm going to talk about chain piecing. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to leave this here, and then I'm going to answer questions real quick, and then I'm going to go back to this chain piecing thing. Does your Juki automatically cut the thread? It does on the foot. Hold on a second. The foot of my Juki, if you hit the back of your foot on it, it will cut the thread. What colors do you recommend for building a thread stash? I love Lori fabric and Bonnie and Camille fabric. So it depends what you're trying to do. For me, I really prefer to just stitch with color 2000, color 2600, and color 2024. So if you're looking for piecing, what you're going to put your blocks together with, those are the 3 colors I would start with. If you're looking for thread to top stitch or do pretty stitches, I would buy one of the boxes. So Aurifil does the different boxes of thread with designers, so I would do that. Okay, sorry guys. Ashley says, when ripping the papers off, I'm always worried I'm going to stretch the fabric. It won't stretch the fabric. Just make sure you've got a tiny stitch length. Is there going to be a Liberty box? Yes, soon. I can never remember what size paper you should compare to the finished size. So we do have a free printout. Just search half square triangle paper diagram or chart, half square triangle paper chart, and that should help you because it's got different columns. That should help you. Betty says, I have a question on how to incorporate 6-inch blocks in the backing. I started out with 6-inch and then I changed to 9-inch. Your suggestion would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so what I would do, I would do a big piece of backing. Pretend this is your backing. I would do a big piece of backing here, a big piece of backing here, and then I would sew some blocks together and then a solid fabric, and then you have a strip in the center. Sorry guys. Okay, so the directional lines on the paper are just recommendations. Yes, the little arrows are just recommendations. I never follow them. It says you forgot to change your stitch length. No, actually I changed it before I started. Sorry guys. I own the Sew Steady and I love it. I always use triangle papers. Yay. And this machine, the Juki actually comes with a bed, but we lost it. So that's why I always showed the Sew Steady, because I can't find the other one. For the 9-inch block, what size of square do we need to cut to make the half square triangle? 10 inches, or cut it 10.5 and trim down. Either one. If you cut it 10 inches, it'll be fine. But if you cut it 10.5, you'll have you have a little bit more wiggle room. I like to use 50 weight that comes on a thread cone. Which do you recommend? Color 2000. That's 99% what I use, and I've actually gone through a cone and a half this year. I'm actually, when I was sewing yesterday, I'm almost out of my bobbins, and one of the things that I love to do is like wind 30 bobbins. Don't ask me why. So that's one of the things I'm going to do tonight when I watch Dateline. Good morning from San Marcos. Yay, that's where I went to college. I love FQS and all you do for quilters. Yay, thank you. Is there going to be a sew along with Merry and Bright Christmas? Not that I know of. Okay, a question on the Kaleidoscope kit. How much background is included? Lori had a note that if you use foundation papers, you need more yardage. Yes, when you get the kit from us, you get enough to do it either way. So you get enough to do the foundation paper, because that's how I piece everything. So yes. Which triangle papers would be a must if you can't get them all? H200, H250, and 300. There is an awful summer cold thing going around. My husband and his family are all sick. So far, I've managed to avoid it. It's not COVID. It's, so I can tell you what I have. I am very allergic to trees and grass. And I went to the cemetery, went to my dad and my grandparents' cemetery on Sunday, and I went for a really long walk on Saturday, and there was cottonwood in the air. And cottonwood is like where it goes off of trees. And so Kevin and I are both sick. Our kids are all fine, but somehow the kids didn't go on that 1 hour walk with us. So maybe we shouldn't have gone on that walk. Okay, so this is what I do to chain piece. Now this is going to be kind of confusing, I think, but I'm going to try to explain what I do. Now this is going to work for this 3-inch size. This will not work for your 9-inch blocks because you will have too much bulk. I do want to remind everybody that we're going to have an auction where I auction off the 6-inch and the 9-inch blocks. So they're going to be all blocks that I made with this fabric. We're going to auction it off for Make-A-Wish. All the money goes directly to Make-A-Wish. Middle of July, more information to come. This one I'm going to keep just because we have to keep one of the quilts. So I have taken the large design board by Lori Holt, and I've laid out every row in the order exactly, even how the direction of the half square triangle. I've got everything going the right way. I've double, triple checked myself. And I'm going to show you how I chain piece a quilt and how I can have this quilt pieced together in like an hour or two. Now, it might confuse some of you guys, but I'm going to try to make it explainable. So I'm going to change my foot away from this open toe foot to a 1/4 inch foot. I'm going to switch to like a 1.5, and I'm going to go back here, and this is row 1 and row 2, and I'm literally going to pin as I go. So you see all those seams. I'm going to put them right sides together, pin at the beginning and the end, and you can see this pink block is tiny bit smaller than the blue. So I'm going to move that pink to match the blue. And then there's a lot of seams in here. So like this pink needs to hit that pink. Now at this point you could just say, forget it, doesn't matter, but to me it matters. So I'm going to put my little pin in the point. Oh, my piece is coming apart. I'm not going to do that now, because my piece is coming apart. Okay, so then I'm gonna stitch. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Right sides together. Keep going. And I do keep this on top just so I can refer to it as I go. And I don't cut my thread in between. I just keep going. And then same thing, just keep going. Now, like I said, this is gonna work for really small blocks, which is why sometimes I prefer to do small blocks. And then go back. Now, I guess you could pin the whole line if you wanted to. And so you can see that this square is slightly bigger than my block. So I just pull this up to the top, start stitching, and I'm going to pull and make it work. So from here, I'm going to pull right here, and it's going to flatten it out. And then this one, and then that's going to be the end of my row. And it's nice when you can see that I've trimmed all my blocks, so when I'm sewing this together, it's nice and easy. There's not a lot of thread everywhere. Okay, so from here, I'm going to take this. Keep it, make sure I've got it all in the right way, and I'm going to cut it and just stack and keep it kind of in the same row order. And then you just keep going. So I'll do one more row. So I'm going to pin. Now I see someone is asking, why would it not work for larger blocks? Now it could work, I just think it becomes too bulky, so when I do larger rows, I usually just do row by row. I think it just gets to be too much, but it definitely will work for larger. It's just, you're gonna have a big old chain. And the reason I've cut it apart when I put it back on my board is I feel like when you're trying to put blocks on a big long chain, it becomes kind of messy. Now here you're going to see that some seams meet. So I'm going to just try to get those little points to meet. And I kind of feel like if you make your blocks accurate, when you get to the piecing and put it together, if it doesn't go together perfect, it's fine, because your blocks are, that's where you can make your mistakes, is in your finishing. And of course this block is kind of scrappy. I mean, this quilt is scrappy, so if one block is turned slightly different, it's not going to matter. So like, for example, we have it laid out where the block goes this way, but honestly, if you put it this way, it doesn't matter. And we did do a fat quarter bundle of all the fabrics we used in the half square triangles, if you want to get that, if you used Homestead. Two more. Okay, so from here I go back, lay it down, and just do the same thing. Just kind of keep it all lined up. And this is the way that I can be really fast. You just have to kind of stay organized, which can be kind of hard when you get all this going. And so I'm not going to go through and make sure every point matches at this point. I mean, you could, but I'm going to show you they probably are pretty accurate. If you've been accurate when you're piecing, you're going to see it's pretty accurate here. And then you just keep adding. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and do this whole thing, but it wouldn't take me very much longer. Once it's done, you can either press all your rows this direction and then this direction, and then pin it and do rows together at the same time. So that's what I would do, is I would have all the rows together, and then I would press one, but I would keep it on the design board. Even though at this point your blocks will be hanging off your design board, it'll be okay because you'll still have your room, and you can either go this way, or open, whatever you prefer, and then you just pin it together and just sew it. And when you get to that point, you can sew like these two together, these two together, these two together, these two together, then press, and then do your remaining seams. So you're getting up and down to press, not as often. So that's my biggest tip for you. And then for your borders, if you want to see how you do borders, you can check out our beginner series where we talk about borders. And of course, I've done borders in lots of videos. And when we do the Sewcialites, you can use tips from that I'm going to do in 2 weeks. And that will kind of give you tips on how I do my borders. Now, I do my borders a little bit different than everybody, and I always think it's best to do whatever works best for you. So we have some super chats that Piggy wants to say thank you to. Valeria says, I love everything you teach and listening to stories of your sweet kids. Thank you for being you. Oh, thank you. I've got a cute picture of the boys coming up. And then Marianne says, thank you for the tutorials. They really help a lot. Thank you. I really do try to come up with a lot of content. This week was a little bit harder because I haven't been feeling that great, but yesterday I powered through. I need to take a drink. When will the cranberries and cream fat quarter bundle ship? We'll put that as a follow-up. I love the strawberries and rhubarb. Are you doing a quilt with this line? I've made 3. I made the baskets and blooms that I showed last week. I made the designer mystery quilt for 2021. And I made something else that I can't remember now, but I have already made 3 things with that quilt. Sorry, 3 quilts with that collection. I just want you to know, when you sew your piece together and it's one is a bit bigger, do you put the bigger piece on top or the bottom? Okay, so there, I don't pay attention to that. I just pin it, whatever size is on top, and I pull it. Now, some people say you should put that bigger, bulkier side on the bottom because your feed dogs will pull it in better. I don't do that. I just do whatever's on top. Or whatever I like on this, I just go in the exact order. But that's how I learned, so I made it work. You know, sometimes when you learn things, then later you learn, oh, there's a real reason why you should or shouldn't do that. But if it has worked for me, I just keep doing it. Have you received the white on white fabric you like? No, it's not, it's still gonna be about a month out. Patricia says, thank you, Kimberly and FQS for Sewcialites. My very first quilt along, and as a new quilter, I've learned so many things. Thank you, we hope you have, that's great. Is there a trick for using directional print with triangle paper in a block? Okay, so what I do there is if I need 4, I just make 4, and then I lay it out and hope they all go the same way. If they don't, then I'll just make another one and just kind of peek to make sure I've got it the right way. Will kitty corn ship soon? Yes, we already have everything online, so should ship. It's all online, and I have lots of kitty corn to show you. I'm gonna have 3 quilts with that when I'm done. Do you sew standing up? On camera, yes. In real life, at home, absolutely not. I'm fine. I sit on a chair. I'm finally chain piecing. I'm not sure why I held back, but it does make things easier. Yes, it does. I like to do 2 rows together at a time, then join them. Yes, and you should do whatever works for you, especially like if I was working with 9-inch blocks, I wouldn't do it this way because I think I would make too many mistakes. So I do change what I'm doing based on, you know, what project, and kind of if I have a ton of time, I'll go slower. These small blocks are so cute. Thank you. Where do you lay out a quilt with larger blocks? On a table. So at home, what I would do is I have a cutting table. It's smaller than this, but it's still pretty big. And I would just do it the same thing. I do layer, just like I have these layered, I would do the 9-inch blocks and layer them on a table. And then I would just get, like maybe put them in a stack and take them one stack at a time. I make it look so easy. Oh, thank you. Well, I've been doing this a long time. Do I sell this cup? Yes. I don't know the exact name, but it's Lori's cup. My Happy Place tumbler. How high is the table base of the machine from the sewing table to the sewing bed? Depends on your machine. So I had a cabinet made for my sewing machine, and I actually, when I had the cabinet made, took both my sewing machines. So mine's not flexible. So if I ever change sewing machines, I'm not going to have a table that works. But there's a lot of tables that you can buy that are like koala. I'm going to sit down. There's different tables like koala or horn, and they're adjustable where they are on like a spring, and you can raise them up and down. Have you ever sewn Janet Ray Nesbitt's Crazy Star unit? No, I haven't. Can FQS have a master set from triangles in a roll in tiny sizes for the ones that love to do mini? We can do that when we come out with more of our small sizes. We're still working on some smaller sizes. Well, let's see. No, we can do one. We can do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we can do a 6-pack with 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, and 1 3/4 and 2 inch. We can do that. Is there a trick to get seams to line up when pressing open? I struggle with it. Pin, pin, pin. So, you saw that I pinned these two, and I kind of eyed it. I eyeballed it. But they came out pretty good. And I really, I'm honest, when I get to finishing and putting a quilt together, I don't look at the seams. I hope they match up, but I don't do a lot of ripping out when I get to this point. I'm more perfectionist within the block, and when I get here, what happens, happens. Gretchen says, your tutorials have given me more confidence in cutting and piecing. Thank you. Thank you, I do try. When you make blocks and start to piece them in a design, do you trust your instincts if one of them looks off, like too light or too dark, or do you just work with it? If I lay my quilt out, and I'm actually going to talk about this with the Riley Blake designs, what I do is when I get to that section, but what I do when I have a quilt, now this one right here, I already know it looks good because we had a digital mock-up of it and designed it, so I already know it all looks good together. But if I've done something where I design it myself, I put all my blocks on a table, but more spread out so I can see. I take a photo. I take a 10-minute break, and then you look at the photo and you see if anything sticks out, and if it does, you fix it. And, you know, if it's for a gift, I might just leave it because most people who receive a gift, they don't care if it's perfect. So I'll look at it, but I think the best way to see if your colors are good or not is by taking a picture on your phone or stepping really far back. My room is not big enough for me to do that, so I have to do it on my phone and then give your eye a break and go back to it. Crafting a Plan Life. I have a Sew Steady on order for my new brother machine. I can't wait to get it. I wish I had it to make my quilt top with these 9.5 inch blocks. Yes, they're great. And those Sew Steady tables, the company's just called Sew Steady, and I just buy it directly from them. We don't sell it or anything. And Kevin cracked the one I have at home, so I need to get a new one. He didn't mean to, and I never even told him he did, but I do need to get a new one. Does more starching help make nesting your seams easier or not? So I just starch when I first get my fabrics ready. I don't starch after that. Are you going to show how to attach sashing for Serendipity? Yes, the video is going to be on July 5th, Monday, July 5th. I'm going to show how you cut it and attach it. What fabric did I use for Sewcialites? So right here, and we still have plenty of fabric left, I used the Homestead Fat Quarter Bundle. I used a background SKU that we're sold out of. It's 20708-36. It's coming in stock in August because it's my favorite white on white. And if you need more fabric for the half square triangles, there's a bundle called Sewcialites Accent Bundle or something like that. When is the strawberries and rhubarb mystery quilt shipping? Block 1 is shipping next week. What is your best-selling foundation paper? Triangles on a Roll for sure. H200 and H250 for sure. And then I would say after that our Flying Geese paper 2x4. You have a loose pin on the table, so be careful. I found a pin this morning. I don't even know where it is, but I found a pin this morning in my bathroom, which is really far from my sewing room, just randomly in my bathroom. And I thought, well, how'd that get in here? I actually have no idea how I got in there. But yesterday, I will say one thing that, you know, when you're sewing at home and you're playing with stuff, I do find that you're either going to be like really accurate one day or really inaccurate, or you just keep doing the same thing over and over. And yesterday, I broke like 5 pins because I sewed over them. So I was just going so fast. I was just sewing over pins, and I thought, oh, I better not break this machine before tomorrow. Could you do a video on how to use rulers for left-handed people? Well, I'm not left-handed, so no, but I think Doug Lico is, and he did some video. I think Doug Lico did some. If you look at Doug Lico's videos, I believe he's left-handed. Learning to pin like you do by pinning fabric to the right of the needle. I've always pinned to the left and have trouble with presser feet jamming with the needle. I made my Sewcialites quilt in 2 sizes, so I'm going to have to get creative with my layout. Yeah, a lot of people have finished, and don't forget, we do have a giveaway. So you can enter to win a $500, $200, or $50 gift certificate from FQS. Just share your photo with your completed top. It doesn't have to be quilted or anything, and just put it on Instagram with the hashtag Sewcialites QAL and tag Fat Quarter Shop. And as long as you post by July 16th, we're going to pick a winner and announce it on July 19th. Pins and needles grow legs and hide themselves all over my house. Okay, I'll tell y'all a funny story. So this is so funny that it's embarrassing. I would never even admit this to like a real person that I know in real life, but since y'all are like my internet friends, I feel like y'all won't tell anybody. So I went into Starbucks yesterday, and I haven't not been feeling great, but Emma had to be, my boys went to basketball camp this week, and Emma went to dance camp or whatever. So we were kind of running late because whatever. So I went to Starbucks, and she didn't want Starbucks. So I was like, well, I have to go in and get it because like it's for me. I'm not gonna make her go get it. So I go to Starbucks, and I didn't have like pockets in my pants. So I put my phone like in my pants, but I thought it was like in my underwear so that it would like hold my phone. And then I walked inside, and then my phone I had all my drinks because I buy more than one drink, and my phone went all the way down through my foot. And I was like, well, I'm getting kind of chubby, but at least my phone could still go through my pants. Anyway, I didn't know anybody in that Starbucks, and I was glad I didn't. I was having one of those days yesterday. And then I thought, well, I'm really glad Emma isn't in here because she would be so embarrassed. Because sometimes I do stuff just to embarrass her because, I mean, that's what parents do. Is there a random draw for Sewcialites? It is random number generator. Do you have a video on how to choose the best fabric for a pattern? I don't think we have a video on that. We can add that to suggested list. What would be a good background for Sewcialites instead of white on white? What would be a good background for Sewcialites instead of white with blue and green? I would say using like a Bella Solid or a Kona Cotton or maybe Blossom or Kisses. Those are really good tone-on-tones. Can I trim down the 1.5 by 3 inch foundation paper to 1.5 by 2.5? No, because you can trim down the 2 by 3 to the 1.5 by 2.5, but you cannot trim 1.5. So it's, let me see. You can trim down 1.5 by 3 to 1 by 2, but you can't, yeah. I think your sizes might be off, but you can, if you have a bigger, you can cut down. I think that size is a little bit off. That's funny. I love your real life stories. Yeah, yesterday I was just like, oh my goodness. I just wanted to thank you for the way you and Lori write patterns. So clear and concise, it spoils the person, makes me reluctant to use other patterns. Yes, it spoils me too, because when I use another designer's patterns, I really have to like sit and take notes, and I don't like to have to take notes. Will FQS carry the Tula Solar Flare Kit? If it is pre-packaged by Free Spirit, we will. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to look that up and come and write that down and come back to and give you an answer next week. Foundation paper is wonderful. Yay! Okay, so I am going to take a quick break, gather all your questions you have on Sewcialites. When I come back, I'm going to show you all of our sample maker quilts so that you can see how ours are looking. Now, all of ours are pieced according to our diagram and our finishing instructions, but you can finish yours however you want, and I will be right back. So now I'm going to show you all of our sample maker quilts, and of course I'll show you mine when it's all done. Mine's not done yet because you just saw me putting the blocks together, just to kind of show you the different looks you can get from this free sew along. The first one is using quotation fabric by Zen Chic. It is made by Teresa. She did the 3-inch version. And all of these were quilted by Mike at mylongarm.com. And here's her backing. So that's the first one. And as we went, we showed the blocks. So now you can see them finished. So that's the first one. The second one is Figs and Shirtings, which is one of my favorite lines. And there's something exciting coming with this that I'm going to talk about later that Pat Sloan is doing with this collection. Deborah made this one, and this is also the 3-inch version. And I love the 3-inch version because you can use it as like the center of a table. You could use it as on a picnic. I just love really small blocks. And again, Mike at mylongarm.com quilted it. That's also 3-inch. The next one is using the Shine On collection by Bonnie and Camille. And Sue made this one. I love the binding on this. And this is the 6-inch version. So all of these are Moda Fabrics. And this is a feather design. I love feather quilting. And Mike will know, if you send your quilt to him, he'll know which, like if you say, I want to do the quilting that Deborah did or Sue did, this is Sue's, he'll know which one it is. So that's 6-inch. This one is also 6-inch. This is Folktail, and I love this quilt because look at the binding. She used scraps on the edge, which that's a labor of love, I'll tell you that. It's a lot of work. So Terry made this one, 6-inch version. And this is a Baptist fan quilting. There's a couple different versions of Baptist fan. And on this one, I did want to point out she used the same half square triangle fabric throughout, so you don't have to use different fabrics like I did. You can use one. And that kind of gives it a focal piece. And I think this is upside down. Let me see. No, she did on purpose. Okay, so let me show you what she did. So on the sides, she did this. And at the top, she did this. And this. So you can change your half square triangles. And then that is the back. So those are the 6-inch version. Now this is the really big version. This is the 9-inch version. And this is Grunge with Cider by Basic Grace. So we're just gonna go top to bottom and then go back around because it's too hard to, we'll just go all the way up. And this one's very modern. I love this one. I don't even like modern, and I like this one. Okay, and then we'll go this way. And I do have it a little bit upside down. And she did the exact same thing with her flying geese on the outside. So her and Terry must have got together and they did their flying geese different too. Okay, so then we'll pull it, and we are upside down. That's okay. It's too big to worry about if it's upside down or not. So okay, and then I'm gonna answer questions, and then we are gonna do one more sewing demo. So we're setting up the machine real quick. What pantograph would you choose for the Serendipity quilt? A flower? We picked a flower. So when I send my quilt, which is behind me, this is the Serendipity Charity quilt. The biggest thing with that quilt is because the background is navy and the fabrics are not, you've got to get a thread. I don't like my thread to show. So Gina found a variegated thread that will blend in. It's kind of gray. I'll have her do the same exact pantograph, just smaller, because I like my stuff smaller. Do you find that you sew more in winter rather than warmer? I'm so far behind because it's beautiful outside. I find that I sew all the time as much as I can. I'm not an outdoor person, and the reason I'm not an outdoor person is because I'm allergic. So last week when I went on that 1 hour walk, I'm paying for it this week, so I try to stay inside. I'm kind of a homebody too. Like, for example, my daughter's going to this big national dance convention. It's at a water park. I'm like, good, go have fun. I'm not going to the water park. I'm sure some mom will be there. I mean, she's 14. There will be moms everywhere. I'm not going to the water park. You're not going to catch me dead in the water park. Are you getting more finishing kits for 2021 mystery quilt? No, they're all gone, but we do have the finishing patterns separately. Will you be getting Lori's project bag panels when they come out? Of course, I get anything that's Lori's. What size does the 3-inch quilt end up being? Let me look at the pattern real quick. When is the next sew along? It's going to be in 2022, and it's going to be later in the year because we're going to have charity quilts. I think that I took the papers out. So the next sew along will be in 2022, but we're going to do sew alongs in between, but the next Sewcialites will be late 2022 or middle. Okay, so your 3-inch blocks, if you do the border the same as what we did, it will finish at 27 inches square. The 6-inch will finish at 54-inch square, and the 9-inch will finish at 81-inch square. Will there be kitty corn quilt suggestions? Yeah, I have 3 today, actually. What is it called, the quilting pattern? So the quilting pattern, any of the quilts that I just showed flat on the table, Mike at mylongarm.com can answer that question. And the quilt behind me, Gina at Thread Graffiti, can answer that. So we don't usually say the name of the pantographs. We usually just show them. What is the smallest side strip length you would use for scrappy binding? And is it best to sew the strips together on the diagonal? So for me, scrappy binding would never happen. That's too much work at the end. I would probably go with 10 inches, like maybe 10 inches, and I would sew on the diagonal for bulk, but I actually don't ever use scrappy binding. Will you be doing scrappy September this year? I don't know. Did we do that last year? Yeah, sure, I guess. Yeah, I guess we did. I don't know. I swear shine on fabric could be used on any quilt design, and I would love it. Yes, and I have something that I sewed recently that you're going to see that you're going to love. Is there a trick for using directional fabric in a block? So I had already answered that. I have an Aliso Mini. Even on the silicone pad it comes with, I cannot leave my iron on for very long before it starts to scorch. Any suggestions? I don't know. I haven't used that one. I would definitely email the manufacturer though, because I haven't used that one. Is there a video on how to use 5-inch triangles with a layer cake? We have tons of layer cake videos. I don't know if we have that exact video. I had to cancel Sew Sampler, but I still want Sherry McConnell's blocks. When is its release? It will release after it ships, so we just shipped out the May Sew Sampler, so in a couple of weeks. Just keep watching the What's New page. Will you get in more Crystal Lane backing sets? No, you can just buy it by the yard because that fabric is now discontinued, so I can't cut more. Am I going to visit Lori Holt? Yes, in July. I'd love to have a cushion kitchen mat with a Lori Holt design. Any chance she'll make one? Cushioned kitchen mat. I don't know, but she's in the chat, so if she knows what you're talking about, maybe. I don't know. I'm learning so much from you regarding accuracy, but I do have a question. On the Riley Blake along, how do you line up the seams in the sashing and corner blocks? I'm going to do a demo next. Do you have a set of on the roll triangles to do a whole quilt? Or do we know how many rolls to buy with the queen size quilt with a different sign? I would always just buy one roll. One roll is going to give you hundreds of triangles. Once I run out, I just buy a new one. I never buy more than one at a time. So one question that we got is the Riley Blake Designs block challenge. It just ended. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you this week's block. This is a free sew along, and all of the blocks finish at 10 inches square. So here's my block for this week. It's 16 free blocks, and this block is Lori Holt's, and you can see my Sashiko stitches. What I am going to do now is I'm going to show you all 16 of these blocks in case this is something, we're going to zoom out a little bit, in case this is something you want to maybe do and it's completely free. So I'm going to show you all my blocks, and then I'm going to do a demo on chain piecing. Actually, I'm going to do a demo on strip sets. Now these are not in any particular order. I'm just showing you kind of, when I get done, I like to show you all together. This fabric is Prim Collection by Lori Holt. I just picked 4 of the fabrics. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to show you all my blocks, and then I'm going to do a strip set demo. And all of these are designed by different Riley Blake designers. And this has been a ton of fun. So I'm going to finish this and then show you it finished. I don't think I'm going to have it finished next week, but I might. We'll see. On the very last day that they released the last block, they did release the finishing instructions. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is do a little demo on strip sets. Now, strip sets, if you're going to do the way that I do strip sets, you need more fabric because I cut everything bigger and trimmed down. And I'm going to do a little demo and show you. And this is something that took me several years to come up with. Well, maybe not several years, but a long time to perfect. So, earlier this week, Riley Blake came out with this. And on the sashing, you're going to see you can make all of this in strip sets. Sorry, guys. And the best thing is they wrote it in strip set instructions. So this morning, well, yesterday I starched all my fabric. And I started piecing some of the blocks. Sorry, I'm going to take medicine real quick. So, I started piecing these. And I'm going to show you how to do this the Kimberly way. And one of the questions that we got is, how do I get everything to match? So I'm going to show you everything that I can think of for chain piecing and also for putting blocks together into a final quilt. And just give me like 2 seconds. I'm going to take a little medicine because I'm coughing like crazy. The first thing I do is whatever size it tells you to cut, I cut 1/4 inch bigger, no matter what. So fabric C is 2 1/4 inches, so I cut it 2 1/2. So all of these strips, I cut 1/4 inch bigger. Sorry, I'm almost done. So this is cut 2 1/2. This is cut 1 3/4, and this is cut 2.5. So that is 1/4 inch bigger than the instructions say in the cutting. That's what I always do. Now I did decide, in my blocks I used the aqua check. I decided to use the aqua flower in my sashing just so that it would pop a little bit of color to the blocks. Now when you're done, you're going to get this look, but I'm going to show you how to get here, and you'll do the same thing on any of these other blocks, and I'm going to show you how to pin and get everything to look nice. Now the one thing that I do that's going to be the most wasteful is you're using with the fabric strips, but I do not like to use the fold. Sorry. I don't like to use the fold because it's inaccurate and I just don't like to use it. So I'm going to have to make a lot more strips because I'm not going to be able to get 3 10.5 inch wide. I'm only going to be able to get 2 per strip. But I'm going to sew these 2 together. So to sew these 2 together, I'm not going to pin or anything. I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to go really fast. And then I'm going to press toward the green. So to do that, I'm going to set my seam. Press to one side. Now this is where I used to mess up. I would forget at this point I need to trim down. And then I would add the next piece, and then your piece is totally wrong. So this is what took me the longest time to figure out. Now this is going to take you longer, and it's going to use more fabric, but this is what I do, and I love it. It gives me perfect results. So at this point I go back, and it says that my B should be 1.5. So if you take 1.5 minus 1/4 inch, I should have 1 1/4 here. I'm going to have 1.5, but I'm going to trim that down. And what I do here, cut it down. And it's going to come out exact. Now, you're going to think it's wasteful, but if you try it, you might love it. And then add this one. Set your seam again. Press toward the green. Get it nice and flat. And then I'm going to trim the left and the right sides so that it is the right size. Now this is something where I would try it before you do a whole quilt like this. Now you're going to notice that when you look, it starts waving right here. that is what happens when you do strip sets. So that's why I cut down. So from here to here, this was cut 2 1/4. So if I take 2 1/4 minus my 1/4 inch, this should be 2 inches. So this is where you're going to see the impact. You put the ruler on that 2 inch line, and you're going to make that 2 inch hit exactly the green. So see how it's off here? You just pull it with your finger. And now it's exactly on that 2 inch, and you cut it. Flip it around, it should be 5 inches wide. And see how it's waving over here? It's like waving over here. So you pull it, and it's going to come out exact. Well, do it again. Now this is going to seem excessive to some people, and it is, but I like my stuff to be exact. So this is what I do, and then I just pull till it's exactly on that line. And then it says that I need to subcut into 5 by 10.5 inch rectangles. So again, my method, because I cut the center out, you're going to need more strips. So 10.5, this is where I don't use my mat. I use this ruler, and I'm going to line up the 10.5 here. And pull this down. And then you subcut these. You're going to need some 1.5 inch strips. So to do that, I would just cut at the 6, 4.5, 3, and 1.5. So that's how you do that. Now I'm going to show you how you do the brown. So for the brown, I have my outside 9 patches, the brown. So it says to cut that 2 1/4. So I cut it 2 1/2. I'll do the same exact thing. I cut this bigger. I'm going to add a cream that is cut 1.5. I'm going to trim it down just same exact way I did this. After I trim it, I'll add the brown to the next side, and then trim that down into sections. So now I'm going to show you. One of the questions I got was, how do you do, I'm going to first show how you would do the top and the bottom row. And then I'm going to show you how you can attach to a block. So I would do, there are 5 sashing rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would sew all of those together first. Now to do that, because of the way I pressed, I'm going to pin, and you can mass do this, but that's what I will do tonight. I'll probably get this quilt together tonight. I am going to talk about how to lay out your fabric blocks too. But I would first start with your sashing rows, get all 5 of your sashing rows done, and then I would do all of your block rows after that. Sew them all together, and then you can send it to your quilter. I think this one's going to look really good if I, not sure which quilting I'm going to do. So and you could kind of mass do all of these, but you're gonna see it fits together nice. And then you'll press towards the white. And it's gonna look nice because, and you can see it's all nice. Everything matches up, but I did take those extra steps to cut it bigger, trim it down. I know it is not for everybody, but I love it. It's so awesome. But I do want to show you, we got several phone calls about this. People want to know, how do you put the sashing to a block? And I'm going to show you that right now, and I'm going to show you my method. So this is block 1. I'm going to put it right sides together. Now you're going to see 1/4 inch off. So the first thing I do, and it doesn't really matter, this block is not directional, so it doesn't matter what side. I'm going to first put that at the bottom, go to the top, pin it. Now what I do is I put the smallest width on top, whatever the smallest piece is. So this is my smallest piece, this is going on top. And then I'm going to pull with my fingers, put a couple of pins, and I'm going to pull as I sew, and then I'll iron, and you'll see that you won't even be able to tell. So just start right at the end. And if it's feeling really wavy, you just pull with this finger back. It's not feeling too wavy though, because I've put the pins in, but if it is, I just pull. And it will work itself in. Now, like I said, you're gonna press. Now here, okay, see how it's wavy? If you just start pressing right there, you're gonna see all those waves. See all that? Wrinkles? Press your seam down. All gone. So if you would not have pressed that down, it would have been wavy. And then here, do the same thing. Press toward your white, your big white piece, big white rectangle, I guess. And then so what like I said, is I would do all of these rows together at one time, all of your block rows at one time, and then you just put them together, and because of the way you've pressed, and you'll pin in each intersection and then sub pin. And I would always put the smaller size on top. What I'm going to do though when I get home is, because Riley Blake did this layout, I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to take all of my blocks and lay them out, not overlapped. I'm not going to put the sashing in though, because that's too much. I'm not going to like put all the sashing in and then have to pick that up. I'm just going to lay out 4 blocks by 4 blocks right next to each other. They're just going to touch. So for example, when I put this on the ground, it's not in order, but I'm going to put them just like this. So like, that's how I'm gonna put it on the ground with no sashing. And then I'm gonna step away from it. I'm gonna take a photo of it, take a break. Now this is obviously not how it's laid out, but I'm gonna first lay it out this way to start. Take a photo, give myself 5 minutes, come back, look at it as a whole, look at my phone to make sure it's not, like there's not too much brown in one spot, or too many flying geese, or too much pink. I just look at, and like this, you don't want this next to this, because look, that same center is right here. So just look at it. Like maybe you lay it out, then go do all your sashing rows, then come and look, and then sew it together. And I love this quilt. So that is my demo on strip sets, and I am using this as the binding. So my 4 patches are going to look like this, my sashing is going to look like this, and then this is going to be my binding, which is going to tie together my blocks. Again, this is a completely free sew along hosted by Riley Blake Designs on their blog. Okay, now I'm going to answer questions before I go on to everything else. The Pokey Little Pineapple. I love that you have directional arrows for seam allowances. Everything fits. Yes, I am all about the arrows. Such a helpful tip because my blocks don't come out exact. Yes, it's great for beginners. Sometimes I think that was the hardest thing when I started, was to really understand the seam allowance. Everyone talked about how perfect it needed to be. And when I started, I used like a sewing machine from Walmart. And so I really didn't have like a 1/4-inch foot or anything like that. So I didn't really know how to perfect it. And it just came with time. So I used to do little tricks to make it work. If we want to use 4 fabrics to do this quilt, how would we figure out how much yardage? So what I did is I just started out with 1 yard of everything, and if I need more, I buy more. Now, I think in my background, I probably started out with 4 or 5 yards. Now for the backing, I haven't bought a backing fabric yet. I am going to, when I'm done, see what I have left and decide what to do. Hi, Kimberly and friends. How much fabric would you suggest I buy if I like a collection but don't have a project in mind? Lap quilt and queen quilt. Fat quarter bundle. Half yard bundle for queen. Choice for backing on Riley Blake challenge. I have not decided yet. So what I like to do on my backings, I usually don't buy my backing fabric up front, because what I'm going to do is on the back, I'm going to see what fabric I have left over and probably do some kind of star for the back, and then probably do some type of star with my name in there, like a label with my name sewed in, and then add some stuff. So I'm going to use up what I have and then buy, because I don't know, I just don't like to spend a lot of money on the backing. So anything I can use that's left over from the front, I'm going to do before. Katie says, because I know, because I'm only used to Itsoma patterns, other patterns are confusing and not as informative. I feel like I started with a filet mignon, so now everything else seems like a sirloin. That's funny. Are the prim fabrics still available? Yes. Appreciate pressing instructions and patterns so much. I'm working on the sampler spree, and I have to make 1.5 by 2.5 inch flying geese. Can I do this with the foundation papers? I have 1.5 by 3. Can I trim it down? You would need, yes, you can, but what you need is ISE 774, which is 1 by 2, but you can trim down. You can trim down. I love the background fabric. I'm stuck in the rut of white on white, as I'm worried they won't go or be too much of a pattern, but this is darling. Thank you. A lot of my fabric choices, I get a lot of help from Lori Holt, so she gets a big shout out from me because she always helps me, and she really is the one who helped me. I used to be like, I used to just want to buy everything like pre-made, a kit, so I didn't have to think, and she really taught me different tricks of how to kind of step out and do what you love, and don't be afraid to do it. What starch did I decide on? Okay, I haven't. So my nanny, she does all the like shopping. So she bought more of the starch I've been using, because I haven't told her I want to switch. So now I have so much starch that I need to wait a little bit. But I am going to probably switch. What has Piggy been up to? Oh, he's so cute. I'm going to show you a little update soon. Well, I can do that now. So I'll show you some pictures of Piggy. So he had a little incident, but he's looking better. So that is how he looked for 3 weeks. That is a little flower cone, and that is the face he gave me for 3 weeks, because he was pissed off. There was no other word for it. Pugs are super, very dumb. Like, they're very stubborn, and so he was just so pissed off. But yesterday I let him take it off, and he was so happy. So his little thing has healed, and that's how he looks, all healed. Now you'll notice on the top of his head, he's got like, it looks like hairspray on his hair, but that's like the medicine that he's been having. So he's better. He gained a ton of weight when he went to that the place he went to, so I had to like kind of put him on a little bit of a diet too, so he could, because he was super fat when he came home, and I was like, oh no. And then the next photo I'm going to show you, it's just a fun photo. My boys went to basketball camp this week and they loved it. And so on the left, that's Will. He's one of my twins. His twin is in the middle, Peyton. And then my youngest son, who's a year and a half younger, is on the right, and that's Christopher. And they're so sweet. They had so much fun this week. And then next week, I'll show some pictures of Emma because she's going to dance. So I'll show a picture of her next week. Okay, Piggy wants to say thank you for all the super chats. We've got Trisha Anel, Carmen Maldonado. Thank you for teaching us so we can become better quilters. Thank you. I love teaching you. Friday's my favorite part of the day. I feel so bad that I have been coughing everywhere, but I made it today. Leona says, thank you for answering my question and for the great teaching you provide to me every time. Well, thank you for watching. Randy, thank you for being here while not feeling well. I actually feel great today compared to Wednesday. Wednesday, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I gotta get through live stream, but I'm very committed, and not much will get me down. Suzanne McCallan, I love Super Fridays. Feel better soon. Oh, Super Fridays for Super Piggy. That's a good word. Susanna says, thank you for all you do. I hope you feel better soon. Thank you. Me too. So what I want to show you now is we're doing a video of the week segment where we show you a video that we've posted in the past just to give like new life to old stuff. So in 2019, we did this, and I did show it to you last week, but I wanted to show it to you again. We did this video. It's a free pattern, and I just wanted to show it to you one more time. So we'll turn it around, and it's the flag. And so this one would be great with Bonnie and Camille fabrics or Lori Holt fabrics. You could do, this is the flag, so you could do scrappy here. You could even do scrappy whites. And you can use flying geese paper. It's a free pattern. And then over here, we used Essential Dots and Bella Solids, which are listed on the pattern, but you could do scrappy. I would kind of leave the white unscrappy, but this could all be scrappy. And so I just wanted to show you this pattern again because it's free. There's a free video. We'd love for you to watch it this weekend. And then on the back, we put an essential dot. And then Serendipity. If you watched on Monday, we did a live tutorial. And I went home and I actually finished this yesterday. So I have my rows together, and if you join me on Monday, July 5th, I'm going to do a tutorial on cutting the sashing and borders, and I'm going to probably attach like a couple, maybe one or two sashings to show you how to do it, and you'll use that same technique for sashing as you would the border. But I just wanted to show you I finished this. It was a lot of fun. This is where I was breaking all my pins yesterday, but that's okay. And then I wanted to show you the Scrapbook of Quilts book. We're going to be doing a pillow along that Joanna Figueroa is hosting, and so this week she did tell us online all of her themes, and I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. Okay, so there are 6 themes. So the first theme is going to be patriotic. So she's going to tell you that week what the theme is and what pillow to make with it. So the first one's patriotic. I am going to be using the Shine On collection and scraps from my stash of Bonnie and Camille fabrics for that one. So that's what I'll be using for that one. For Halloween, I'm going to use All Hallows Eve fabric because I love that collection, and I don't really decorate my house very cutesy for Halloween. Well, Kevin does a little section, but that's not my section. So I'm going to do All Hallows Eve. For autumn, there's a theme called Autumn. I'm going to use the Cozy Up collection by Corey Yoder. There's going to be a Christmas pillow, and I'm going to use Christmas Morning by Layla Boutique. There's a 2-color quilt, and that one was the biggest struggle on picking, but I ended up going with aqua and cream from the Fresh Fig Favorites collection. And then there's a neutral pillow. And that one was also really hard for me, but I did the same thing. I used Fresh Fig Favorites neutral. So that's something super exciting to look forward to. Each week, I will be showing you the pillow, how it looks. Gina is thankfully quilting all of them and piecing my pillows and putting the binding on so that I can meet my deadline. So that's super awesome. So now I'm going to answer questions on any of those. I received my scrapbook of quilts. I love it. Thank you. I have an idea. Kimberly, can you write a book with your tips and tricks for quilting and FQS crew tips on quilts? I will buy that book. That's a good idea. Do the red stripes work with triangle paper? Yes. And just look at that pattern. I don't know. We could find out the size of triangle paper you need for that quilt. I don't have it on top of my head. I love a Hollow Z fabric collection. Yes, so I bought a bunch of that background, and I have a bunch of layer cakes, and I have so much of that fabric. And really, when I did those pillows, what I tried to do was use scraps. So I tried to not have to buy anything. So the Cozy Up that I used is actually cut from another kit that I'm going to do later in the year. So I tried to not buy anything. I've purchased the triangle papers but haven't used them. This helps a lot. Thank you. I look forward to watching you. You're the only tutorial YouTube that I watch. Oh, thank you. I have my people that I love to watch too, and so I get really sad or depressed when they don't post. So I get it. How much yardage did I buy for the Riley Blake challenge? So for the Riley Blake quilt, I bought 1 yard of all the fabrics except the background I bought 5 yards of. Can you tell us the location for the retreat? So I'm planning a retreat with Primitive Gatherings. For the Stars and Stripes quilt, if you want to use triangle paper, you would use H200 and H500. Is this an Itsuoma published book? Yes, Scrapbook of Quilts is published by Itsuoma. Is it too late to purchase the 2021 Designer Mystery? No, we still have it in stock. I think everything's still in stock. Oh, Lori says thank you. Oh, big shout out to you too. Yes, I haven't even really talked to Lori this week because I feel so sick. I haven't even been able to call her because I'm like coughing all over the place. What would be the finished size of the Riley Blake Designs Challenge quilt? I'll find the paper and look. I recently started using the tailor's clapper and it really helps the seams lay flat. Yes. 62 inches square. Thank you for all you do, especially the starching method has changed my quilting forever. Yes, and a big thank you to Lisa Bonjean who came up with that. You could call your book Kimberly's Clues or Clues if you don't want to be cutesy. That's funny. If I were to use a layer cake for Sewcialites, could I starch them and have enough room for the 9.5 inches? So if you were going to use a layer cake for Sewcialites, I would use that for either the 3-inch blocks or the 6-inch blocks. For the 9-inch blocks, you need more fabric than that. Having straight strip units comes with proper ironing. I use a ruler to make sure the strips are straight before seaming. Yes. That is very true. And like somebody like Lisa Bonjean, she doesn't ever cut bigger and cut down. That's just what I like to do. Kathy likes to use flatter. She thinks that works well. What's the difference between modern and traditional fabric and patterns? That's all very subjective. Traditional to me depends on the fabric, and I consider star blocks. That's kind of subjective. Is there a quilt show? If so, yes, where and when? There's going to be Quilt Festival in Houston in October, November 2021. I don't know the dates, though. Thank you, Kimberly. I can't believe you're doing it this sick. I hope you feel better soon. Oh, that's the story of my life. I'm a fighter. How much yardage do I need? So I started with 1 yard, and the SKUs I've listed in a previous live stream. I don't have them with me right now. I love your triangle paper. Sometimes I sew a bunch just to have them on hand. Oh, that's cute. Will you be making triangles on a roll paper for 9-inch blocks? No, because I think that's too big. I don't think you need it. I think I would just cut it bigger and trim it down with a 9.5-inch square ruler. Do I starch my backing fabric? Most of the time I do. I try to. I should. If I'm in a real big rush, I won't. Does starching make your iron dirty? No, but I don't iron it until it's completely dry. What are strip sets? So strip sets are when you're sewing a long strip together. What quilting did I do on Serendipity? So you can contact Gina Tell at Thread Graffiti and she can tell you the pantograph. Can I find out where I am on the list to get Sew Sampler? Email service@backquartershop.com. And so now I'm going to move to Sampler Spree, which is the next sew along that just started, and talk a little bit about it and give you some tips. So this is the book. It's a brand new book that's published by Martingale. The author is Susan Aki. It has 100 blocks. All the information on this sew along is on the Moda Fabrics blog. They have this free printout that you can put what week you're on, the color you're doing, and what blocks you're using, and then put your tips before you start just to kind of keep yourself organized. So this is a free download that can help. This, you do have to buy the book. So some sew alongs I show you are free, some are not. And this one is designed by Susan Aki. And then this keeps tabs of where I'm at and what I finished. So this is available free. So one thing I wanted to start off with, this is 104 blocks. It is a lot of blocks. So what I would encourage you to do is make it your own. So if you watch this week, Sherry McConnell came out with a video talking about different sew alongs and tips for it. And I would suggest you watch that because she talks a lot about make it your own. But also on this one, that's a lot of blocks, 100 blocks. Not everybody can keep up with that. So this week they provided this free on the Moda blog, and this only uses 60 blocks. So if you want to do fewer blocks, you can do this. Now I will tell you this setting, I would never do because it's on point and I hate on point. And I hate to use the word hate, but me and on point, we don't get along. My on point block, I cannot get an on point quilt to be square. So I would rather make 100 blocks, do a straight setting than this, but it's up to you, make it your own. So this is week 2. Now on this, I'm using the Stitch Collection by Lori Holt. The background fabric I'm using is 9940 Pewter. And to be completely honest, Lori picked all the fabric for me and told me where to put it. My biggest tip to you on these blocks, on every block, I have pressed everything open and I've used the wooden clappers so that everything stays flat. And I would say this sew along is more of an advanced sew along just because there's a lot of blocks and it's really fast. But if you watch Sherry McConnell, you'll see that she's doing hers in a different order and doing a different amount each week. So this week was yellows and golds. So the first one was Easter baskets. And I would say my tip for this block is for all these corner squares, I used Precision Seam-Align glue. So I've been using this a lot. So that's my first block. And I'm gonna give you just tips on different blocks just because it's fun. The second block is block 12. It's called Patio Pavers. And this was, I had to take a nap after I made this one because my first block came out like this. So this is called Strip Sets Gone Bad. This is when I think I'm being cute and I'm doing strip sets, I'm cutting bigger, I'm trimming down, and I was like, wait, it's not 6.5. So see, when I made the strip sets, you're supposed to subcut them wider, and I didn't do that. So when I say strip sets can be tricky, this is what happens sometimes when you do strip sets. This happens to me all the time. So that was not great, but I thought I would show you anyway. So this, I just use strip sets, but just be careful, you read the instructions. But anytime I do something like this, big mistake, I'll take a nap or go clear my head. This is block 33, it's called Antique Tile. And the same thing, I did strip sets for these. And then I did strip sets for these, meaning I made longer strips and then subcut them. And I cut them wider, trim them down just like I just showed you. This block is block 39. It's called Friendship, and I use strip sets for these, and I used H200 triangle paper for these. The next block is called Here and There. It's number 58. I use square and a square paper to do this, so it's So Emma ISE 778. And what I did there is I made sure this square in the center and covered the entire paper, and then I just added the 2 corner squares so it would be accurate. But you do have to cut your center square bigger because you're not adding these, so you need that fabric to cover. So that was my cheat there, and I did do strip sets here. And this one, you just have to kind of be careful with your color placement. This is one that's easy to get kind of off. This is block 76. It's called Premium Prize. And here I used the quick half square triangle method where you cut 1 square larger, 1 square smaller. So I cut this yellow square 6.5. I cut the cream 5.5. It's the Eleanor Burns method. So I did that, and then I trimmed it down. So I used the small flying geese ruler by Quilt in a Day for these. And we're trying to incorporate this background into a couple of the blocks for variety. So I'll show you how we're doing that. Like here, we do it on a couple others. The next block is block 84, Coxie's Camp. And I used for this, I used the square and a square. ISE 778, which is the 2-inch. And then I did strip sets here. And you'll notice that I added other colors instead of just yellow, and I'll show them to you all together at the end. This is block 90. I love blocks like this. It's so easy. I can do this block in 15 minutes. I used triangle paper, 2.5-inch triangle paper for this. This block 93, it's called Hourglass. I used H200 for this. I did some strip sets here. This one's my favorite for the week. It's called Depression. It's block 97. This I was able to use H300, and then when I added this, I used my precision glue. That's like my new best friend. And I love this block. Something about this block I love. And the way it's so flat is I use the clappers. This one is number 103. It's called Rolling Stone, and I fussy cut this little piece, and I use precision glue for here and for here. And then here, this one is called New 4-Patch. It's block 105, and here I use 2 different half square triangle paper. I use H300 and then H150, and it kind of does a little claw. But I want to show you all of these blocks together, and you'll just see that we tried, when Lori and I did this, we didn't do just yellow. We did some yellow with red, some yellow with blue, some yellow alone, some yellow with pink, because we want our quilt to have a lot of variety in the end. And then I'll show you next week's. I haven't made next week's yet. I'll just kind of put these on top. So we did mix in like the green. Like we didn't, when we did an accent color, we didn't do the same color accent, if that makes sense. So we mixed in different colors throughout so that your quilt will be balanced. So let me know if you have any questions on these. I'll show the backs too. But these are small blocks, and I get better results when I press open on small blocks. I just have to use a smaller stitch length. What is precision glue? So it is a product that's been around a long time, and I had gotten so many comments to try it. So I tried it about a month before I ever talked about it. It's glue, and I've been using it only for corner squares. only for corner squares. I haven't used it for anything else. It basically just keeps it in place so I don't have to pin and remove pins as I'm going, and I have really loved the results of it. Will you be using peach as the sashing? Okay, so sashing, I have not even thought about sashing. I will probably think about sashing when I get, I'll probably think about sashing when I get further along. I haven't even thought about sashing, but it definitely will not be a solid. I will definitely be using something from the Stitch collection or the B background or the B basics collection. I won't use a solid. Can you help someone, can you get someone to help you hold the quilts instead of slide? It's hard to see the whole pattern. We're kind of working on that. I don't really know. I don't have an exact answer on that, but we'll keep that in consideration. Why don't you use the fold of a strip? Because I don't think it comes out as accurate, and I just don't like to. Because I don't think it's as accurate, and I don't want to have to sit with the iron and get that crease out. I don't want to have to take the time to do that. I'd rather use extra fabric and have it perfect than to have to sit and try to starch that crease out. ETA on Riley Blake clappers. Lord help me, I don't know. Soon, I don't know. No idea. I keep getting a different answer, but we're trying to make our own. So we'll see how that goes. How do you glue so you can iron the seams open? I just do it on the corner. I'll show it in a video. I showed it last week, but I'll show it on a video. What is the quilt behind you? The quilt behind me is called Serendipity. It's our charity quilt that we have raised $80,000 for Make-A-Wish for. I love the look of on-point blocks. Yes, they're beautiful. I just have never been able to get an on-point quilt to look good. And yeah. What's the difference between the clapper and the Steady Betty? The Steady Betty, what is the Steady Betty? Let me look and see what the Steady Betty is. So the Steady Betty is a board that is kind of, it's just a flat board to iron on, but it's not going to give you, so that's just to iron on. The clapper you put on top of your block to make it flat. If you don't have a stash, how much fabric would you buy for this sew along? For this one, I would just start with a fat quarter bundle, and I would start with 5 or 6 yards of a background. Any triangle papers, flying geese papers used in the Scrapbook of Quilts book? Yes, I don't have a list of all of them. The next sew along I'm going to show you is American Quilter Sew Along. This sew along is completely free blocks, and if you want to put it together into the quilt, you do have to buy the finishing pattern. So this is block number 3. It's hosted by Lisa Bonjean of Primitive Gatherings, and she did put up a video last night. And here is my block 3. So in the very beginning of the sew along, hold on, this is gonna drive me crazy. In the very beginning of the sew along, she did instructions on how you do the stripes. So this will change each week. There are 20 different weeks. So you'll have 20 blocks. For this, I used triangle paper H100. When I stitched this, I used Aurifil 2600, which I was thinking I would need a darker gray right here, but it doesn't show. And the way I determine a thread is when I pull at my seam, you should not see your thread. So I used 2600 and a super small stitch length. And your setting for the quilt will be in this book. And I have not decided what fabric I'm using for my background yet. I have plenty of time to decide. These are darker colors than I normally use, so it's harder for me to pick. So these are the first 3 blocks, and you can find all of this on Lisa Bonjean's blog. I am using the American Gatherings Fat Quarter Bundle that is now sold out, and I'm not sure what I'm going to use for my sashing yet. The quilt is going to come out to be 67 by 70. She is raising money for Hogs for Heroes. All that information is on her blog and all her videos. Fat Quarter Shop donated $750. So if you're doing this and you're participating and you're getting the free blocks, in exchange for the free blocks, I'm sure she would love for you to donate to her cause. The next quilt I worked on was the Holt Red Sampler Quilt Along. So we'll first pop up her 3 blocks. And this week's blocks are all from Farm Girl Vintage Book. So we'll show, I'm gonna show, okay, so the center block is chicken foot. The block on the left is pinwheel, and the block on the right is Farm Fresh Flowers. So we're gonna show her first block. And I love that chicken wire fabric. It is sold out, and I had not enough of it at home because I really, really wanted to use that, and we are sold out until September. So I tried to emulate her look, and you can see when you're looking at that block, she has 4 different reds. So go back to her block and you'll see she has 4 different reds, and you can see she alternated prints where there's like busyness, color, it's all alternated. So I tried to do the same thing. I obviously have different fabrics because I'm using scraps. I did use a different fabric here than here, which if you go back to her photo, same thing she did, but I just didn't have any of this fabric right here. So I used this, I made it work. And on this one, I used, for this I used H400, and for this I used H200. And I did press this block open because it's just a lot of seams and I felt like it would lie flatter. Now her next block is the pinwheel block. And it's the 6-inch version, and so I did the same background and just a similar color as her. And this is my block, and I just use H300. And it's really fun. I love when she has a simple block like this because I'll do that one first and then I'll be like, oh, I only have 2 left. But then like that compared to this is like, this takes 10 times longer. So I did do this one first. I totally cheated. And I used H300. And then her next block is the 6-inch Farm Fresh Flowers, which we're gonna pop up. And you can see she did a dark in the inside, a medium on the outside, and then a light on those corners. So I tried to emulate the same thing. I think this gets a little lost in it, but I had not enough time to fix it yesterday, and I thought, you know what, it'll look good in the ending. So to do this, I used the 2-inch square and a square paper. But when you do it and you're not going to cover all 4 corners, you have to have this block be bigger because otherwise you won't have enough. So that's how I did mine, is covered the whole square in a square paper and then just did 3 points instead of 4. So I'm going to show you my 3 blocks together and then her block. Again, this one looks prettier. Let's see. So I'm excited that I'm all caught up. So, and then we'll show her 3 blocks. So you can see she's got the prim really dark reds in hers, and I haven't used any of those really dark reds. I've gone with some of her lighter reds. And for her finishing, she is going to be using the cover of Farm Girl Vintage 2. And I wanted to let you know that she's going to be using these 2 rulers. Hold on, I gotta take a drink. Do you have that book? Sorry guys, sorry. I'm gonna never watch this video because it's gonna be so embarrassing. So when she finishes this sew along and puts it together, she's gonna be using this setting. And with this setting, she's gonna be using the Cute Cuts 14.5-inch trim it ruler and the Cute Cuts 7.5-inch trim ruler. So we have both in stock at Fat Quarter Shop, but she is gonna show you on her channel how to use the ruler. So I'm gonna not do that since she's doing it, but I'm gonna use the same technique she's using. And then I'm gonna show you Sew by Row month 4. This is a block of the month. It uses the Sew by Row book. This is published by Riley Blake. Lori picked all the fabrics for us. This is her shabby fabric, but she redid it using some of her basic fabrics, and I took all my blocks home and sewed them together. And when I go to her house, I'm going to take all my blocks that need the embellishment, and she's going to do it for me. And on this, I just pressed. I didn't press open or anything. So sometimes you'll see I press open, sometimes I don't. It kind of just depends on what I'm doing. This next sew along is completely free. It is hosted by Corey Yoder of Coriander Quilts. She is a Moda fabric designer, and she used the Spring Brook Blossoms collection. And this is block 3, which is month 3. She's doing 2 blocks a month. Now you're gonna see right here, I did not want to use this fabric right here. It's a white with, it's too light and too medium for me. I can't stand it. So I changed this fabric. That's my first one, and then this one. And this is the same fabric that was here, and I hate this. I don't like any kind of fabrics like this, so I probably should have switched that out too. But this one, I cannot wait until this quilt is done because it matches my kitchen. And then I was thinking, well, where am I gonna put a quilt in my kitchen? So I'm not really sure where I'm gonna put it. I'm thinking I might need to incorporate yellow somewhere else in my house besides just my kitchen. So this one's free, and I'm using that same white on white dot that we're waiting on because I love it so much. Another thing I worked on, because oh my gosh, I have been a busy little bee, is I have been having so much fun working on the 2021 Swirling Stars quilt. It's this year's scrap buster. So each year we try to design something that will incorporate the use of the leftover scraps. So as I sew on all these sew alongs I'm showing you throughout the year, anything that's left over I'm gonna put into here. Now on this one I'm gonna do a demo July 9th on making a small block and a large block. It's gonna be a pre-filmed premiere because I'm going on vacation with my brother and his family and my mom. So this week I sewed ahead the pillow for the Scrapbook of Quilts pillow and my leftovers. This is Cozy Up. So this is a 6-inch block that I made. And then this is a 12-inch block that I made. And I have shown my other blocks previously, but let's see, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit. Oh, this is one that's previous. So what I'm trying to do with this, I'll talk about it with, let's see, this one. What I'm trying to do with these is use each of the print fabrics only one time, and then just do a different background. So I have different backgrounds on, and it depends what I have on hand. If I have enough left over, I'll use that. If not, I'll just pull something from my stash of backgrounds that matches. And what I do is, like, if October I'm done, I'm done. If I go all the way till December, I go to December. But I think this one I'll probably be done with in October or so, but I love it. I just love it. This is probably gonna be one of my favorite quilts. Another thing that was released this week is Summer Soiree. So Pat Sloan just announced that she's going to be having a free sew along, and anytime there's a free sew along I try to support the designers and sew along because gosh, you know, I need to make like 100 quilts, right? So it's going to be July 7th to September 29th on Pat Sloan's blog, I love to make quilts.com. This is Pat, and this is her supply list. So it's going to be completely free. She has all the fabric requirements, and she's going to be using the Figs and Shirtings Fat Quarter Bundle. So this is the colorway she's going to be using. She's using 9900-60 as her background, and then she's picked some backing options for you. Now these are going to be 12-inch blocks, and I am not sure I'm going to make them 6-inch because I like to make things really hard. So I'm thinking I might make them 6-inch instead of 12-inch, or I might be crazy and make them 3-inch. And I think I'm going to use the kitty corn fabric. So, and I'm going to show you a lot that I have done with kitty corn, in a little bit, but I love this fabric. So this is what I'm thinking I'm gonna do. And the reason, now I think what she's doing is beautiful, but anytime I'm doing a sew along, I wanna do it a little bit different than the designer, just to give you some different options. Okay, so now I'm gonna take another little break, and then I'm gonna come back, make sure you pop in any questions that you have for me, so that I have lots of questions to answer when I come back. Okay, so we now have a little section called Back from the Quilter, and this is my laundry basket quilt mystery 2021 quilt. So this is it from the front, and then we're going to show you on the table. This is a completely free sew along on Laundry Basket Quilts blog, except I made my blocks half the size, and it's really, I think it came out great. I can't wait to put it in my house. And then the back, I used one of Lori's 108-inch wide backings. I took a Sweetwater label that has my name. I added a border, folded it over, and sewed it down. This is the tutorial I'm gonna do next week. That's one of the ways I put a label on the back of my quilt. Sometimes I will sew it in. This is actually sewn on top, but because Gina quilted it on top, no one can take it off, and so my name will always be on there. And this is how I like my quilting. I like it to be teeny tiny. And this is a feather pattern, and Gina asked me what I wanted to quilt it with, and I think I took a photo of something that was on my couch and sent it to her and said, how about this? So you can find Gina at Thread Graffiti. And then another item, I haven't even seen this one. I get to see it for the first time. So look at this beautiful quilting. So this one she had to do bigger because this is minky fabric, which is that like soft stuff. This is C3 ivory. So whenever she does something with minky, she has to go bigger. And this, I made this, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go home today because my kids are gonna fight over this. It's gonna be awesome. I'm going to show it sideways so that you can see it sideways, and then I'll show it from the front. But this is just the kitty corn panel. It comes pre-packaged. I didn't do a thing. All I did was send it to Gina, and this is how it looks. And I'm not a cat person, but I love it. It's so cute. And on the binding, I put 865441, which is an essential dot. And that's what's great about these panels. My kids aren't going to know. They're just going to be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And my kids will fight over any of the quilts that have this. So I have two to take home today that they can decide on what to do. I love this quilting. So these are like little, let's see, I think they're little pumpkins. Do y'all think they're pumpkins? I think they're pumpkins. And then this one is another pattern using kitty corn. Now this one, I took a free pattern. Do you have the pattern? So the pattern is called Holloway. It's a completely free pattern, and we have a free video. And I'm going to show it to you. I'll show it to you in the front camera in a second. But on this one, I wanted something a little bit modern, but I am obsessed with this fabric. Can you tell? So on the back, we put that same fabric, C3 ivory. Gina quilted it, and Jocelyn designed this. And it's a free pattern, and it uses back quarters. So from the front, this is how it looks. And it uses half-yard bundles. So let's see, we're gonna print the pattern real quick so I can tell you a little bit about it. But it uses, I think, let me look and see how many fat quarters it uses. $16 fat quarters. And what I did is I bought the kitty corn fat quarter bundle, which, can you go to that? On our website, go to kitty corn fat quarter bundle, half yard bundle. So I bought the kitty corn half yard bundle that's already pre-cut, that came in this week, and that has 25, but you only need 16. So I'm just gonna use the leftovers for something else. And my kids are gonna love it. It's pretty big. Let me tell you the size of it. It's a really nice size, 60 by 80. So I am a little bit obsessed with the kitty corn fabric, and Teresa made this for me. So thank you to Teresa, because I wanted to make it and I didn't have time. Let's see. The next section, I wanted to send a thank you. I got some clappers as gifts. So I got this one from OSS Quilt Works, and it has my name, and I've been using it. And I got a second one. Look at that. I got it from 4 quilters, Candy, Sue, Terry, and Peggy. I don't want to say their last names just in case they don't want me to know, and I don't want to show the letter because it has their address. But I'm so excited. So now I have like 8 clappers. It's so amazing. So thank you so much. Kevin is like, oh my gosh, these ladies love you. So thank you so much. The next thing I was going to show you was a blast from the past. This is one of my favorite books. It's called Fat Quarter Baby. And if you look in here, all of these names have significance. So Hannah is my niece, Emma is my daughter, Elizabeth was what Kevin wanted to name Emma's middle name, but Catherine won. Obviously my name, my best friend from high school, Sarah, who writes books, Andrew is my brother's middle name, Christopher is one of my sons, Hunter is my nephew, James is Kevin's name, and then Kevin, and then Matthew is Will's middle name, Paul is my father's middle name, Peyton is my son, Ryan was our best man in our wedding, and we really wanted to name one of our sons Ryan, but that was just weird. And then William is named after my son and my dad. So there's 10 boy and 10 girl quilts. So this is a table runner that you can make. This is so these are like a blast from the past. So this is an older collection. It was a Wyndham collection. And the baby quilt that goes with it is right here. It's so cute. So if you're looking for something fast, and this can be unisex. I mean, it doesn't have to be girl or boy. That's just kind of how we wrote it. And then I have a little follow-up section where I'm going to answer questions from the previous week. So one of the questions that we had was designer mystery. Block 1 is shipping next week. Finishing kits and backings will ship later. Seamstress pre-cuts. So we had a question on the Andover Seamstress collection, which is designed by Laundry Basket Quilts. We had the yardage in stock. Somebody wanted to know when the pre-cuts were coming, and they arrived this week, so they're here now. And kitty corn is available now. And I want to show you something that came that's new that I'm really excited about, that I think a lot of you don't know about yet, and then I'm going to answer questions. So 108s are very popular, and Fig Tree came out with these. They're called 108 Woodland Florals. When you look at them, they will go with a lot of her collections. So there's black, taupe, red, cream. This is definitely my favorite. Aqua and green. And then I'm going to make it look pretty. So for the front, you can see all the colors. So these are all new, and I don't know, I just feel like it didn't get a lot of press. And I want to let you know, when we get 108s, because they're made in a different country than other fabrics, they're a little bit harder to get. So I would say, whether you're getting them from us or your local quilt shop, get any 108 you see now. So this is 11175. It's called Woodland Florals. I would get them now before they sell out, because when they sell out, I can't guarantee that they will be back. And then now I'm going to just answer questions. How much smaller is the other kitty corn panel? There are two. Okay, so the regular panel that comes on the bolt that we cut ourselves is 23 by 36. The big panel is 54 by 90. And on the bottom of it does come 4 little panels. So when you, it has 4 little labels is what I mean. So that, she cut that off for me before she quilted it. Do you sell these at Fat Quarter Shop? How much per yard? Yes, they are all online. Just search 11175. When will the Koala Me Crazy line ship? Can you look up what that is? I don't know what Koala Me Crazy is, but maybe I should be Koala Me Sick today. Let's see. Okay, that's Dear Stella. We will follow up with that company and give you an answer next week, because I don't know. Would it be a good idea? I think that went away. Okay, I'll just go back. Are the 108 softer? This one is really nice quality, and it is soft. Would it be a good idea to have the templates for the pillow sew along? Yes. Oh my gosh, yes, because I made that Oregon Trail. And oh my goodness, so I'm all about making my block exact. I want to leave them. They're pretty. So the on the template, what I was trying to do was I was trying to come up with like a way to make it look perfect. let me tell you, if I didn't have those templates, I wouldn't have been able to make it. How many yards do I need using a lap, using a 108 inch? Take the shortest side, add 10 inches, divide by 36. Is the Fat Quarter Baby book still available for wholesale orders? Yes. How many yards? Okay. Do you know where I can get a pattern for the star that's on the kitty corn and pumpkin panel? Can you pull that up? And then I will look and see what it's called. Because I'm sure we have a free pattern or something. The star. Oh, the star is an applique star. That's not a quilt block. That's just a star. Go to the other panel. Let me see the other panel. Oh yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's just applique pieces. So I don't know if there's a block for that. When will the Christmas version of Under the Stars block of the month ship? That is shipping 1 month late. The Serendipity quilt is my most favorite quilt along. Oh, thank you. I'm afraid Minky will bunch up when quilting. I agree, and I don't quilt anything myself, so I just trust Gina or Mike to get that right. I need some suggestions for old maid fabric. Yeah, I don't know. That you just need to find a pattern. Oh, Holloway. Holloway, that pattern that I just showed you in the kitty corn fabric that's free that uses those big pieces, that would be perfect for old maid. When doing quilts with different blocks, do you cut all the blocks first and then sew, or cut one block? Okay, basically, do I cut everything and sew? It depends. So if I'm doing a Lori Holt quilt, because it's an It's So Emma book and there's a lot of instructions in it and a lot of photos, I will cut all three. So when I do the red sew along for the week, I cut all three and sew all three at one time. For Sampler Spree, that book has less detail and kind of jumps around the book a lot, so I do those one at a time, but I'm going pretty slow, so I'm probably gonna have to change my method. So it kind of just depends. If I wanted to get a 108 inch for my stash, how much should I get? Three and a half yards. Or 3. So nice joining you for a change. Thanks for inspiring me to make better quilts. Oh, thank you. When is Midnight Magic 2 shipping? We will put that in next week's update section to get a date. Can I back my cotton top with flannel? Yes, you can. Is there a special requirement for shrinkage? So if you pre-shrink your cotton with like starch, or you pre-wash, do the same thing with flannel. Just treat the flannel the same as you would for the cotton, but it will shrink at different rates, so you might be okay with that. Kathy, would love to learn how to prepare a quilt top to go to the quilter. And what do you ship it in, a box or padded envelope? Gosh, we're spoiled here. They pick it up. But what I do, it doesn't matter if I ship it in a box, a plastic envelope, it goes in a trash bag. So every time my quilt is sent, you just get a kitchen trash bag, Rubbermaid, whatever, white trash bag. Put it in there so that no matter if it's in a box, plastic envelope, whatever, it's less likely to get stained. So trash bag is what I say. Now, I text with my quilters. So with Mike or with Gina, I just text, and he'll text me a pantograph, or she'll text me a pantograph. I say yes or no. They both know I like it really small. And you know, you can probably email with them to pick your pantograph. Is the 108 inch backing the same quality? It is slightly different, but this is a really nice quality. 108 can sometimes be a bad quality. This is really nice, but it is made in a different country, so it's not exactly the same. How many quilts am I doing? I have in my book 30 for the year, and I probably finished 12. So I've got about, oh no, a lot, 18 going, something like that. Can the laundry basket quilt be made in queen or king? I mean, you'd have to draw that out, but you'd have to make it bigger, but probably if you doubled the size. On the American Gathering Sew Along, after the flags are made, will there be enough fabric to make a star border? You're not going to have very much left over from your fat quarter bundle, so if you are wanting to make a star border or something else, I would buy something different for that extra fabric. I used to use trash bags, but now I use clear bags after one quilt got accidentally thrown in the garbage. Oh, that sounds horrible. When will the quilt for Woodland be available? We will add that to the follow-up section and get you an answer next week. Janine says, number 36 Sewcialite block finished at 3 3/4, so I have to resew it, but I was checking the measurements at each step and a little dumbfounded at why it didn't come out right. There might be a section in there where you need to trim down a unit, so just double check that you're trimming down where it says trim down. I made the 36 blocks and it was a very good experience of practice cutting and putting it together. Thanks for showing all different designs and sew-alongs. Hi from Mexico City. Thank you. Do you know if Lori Holt will be doing a cross-stitch pattern that matches my Happy Place quilt? Yes. The answer is yes. Will you be getting the pink metal B Lori cross-stitch stand back in? Once it sells out, it's gone, but she's working on her next color. So when we get those made, they're super expensive, so we can really just afford them that first time. If we have to get them reprinted, we can't afford, because when you buy a lower quantity, it's too expensive for us as a smaller stores, or smaller, you know what I mean? Like, we're not like Walmart. So we're going to next color. How did Lori and I meet? I was kind of like a super stalker. No, not really. I was at Quilt Market and I loved her. I loved her stuff. I always told the owner of Riley Blake, Brett and Cindy, I always told them, oh my gosh, she's my favorite designer. I love her. I want to meet her. And she was at Market and I just walked right up to her. She was like, she had like all these people, like they were just sitting there at lunch and I was like, hey Lori, I'm Kimberly, I own Fat Quarter Shop. I was talking really fast and she kind of looked at me like, I don't know who that crazy lady is. And I just kind of bugged her and I was like, I'm going to become friends with that lady somehow. I always believe, go after what you want. She's awesome. Like, I was like, she's awesome. I love her colors. I want to learn how she does it. I just figured out a way to weasel myself into her life. Suggest another fabric line other than Kitty. For the Pat Sloan Sew Along, honestly, if you find a fabric you like, it will look good because it is a very easy quilt. It is very beginner. And you can do anything with it. So I think any line will work. I wouldn't go with like a Cafe or Tula Pink. That would be a little too bold. But anything that you have that you like will work. I'm doing the American Gathering too. Are you starching? Yes. Who did you say you watched and talked about the sew-alongs? Sherry McConnell of A Quilting Life, and she talked about the 5 things to do when doing a sew along, and she talked about how you organize, how you pick, how you can make it your own. One of the #1 questions or complaints we get is you go too fast or you go too slow or it doesn't fit my timeline or it doesn't fit my schedule. And really, when you do anything in life, make it fit your own schedule. If somebody is doing 20 blocks a week and you can't keep up, just write down a schedule that works for you. Make it fit your life. Do that with anything. I'm making the sampler spree fit my life because it's my job. But if I was at home and just normally sewing, I would just go slower. When were you thinking about sewing the rows? Or is Lori going to come out with block placement in the setting? Oh, the sampler, she's going to come out. She is going to show you her block placement when it's finished, and she's going to be showing all of that in her videos. So I would refer to the Lori Holt YouTube channel. She comes out with videos every Friday. Any word on Happy Days Fat Quarter bundles? We will add that to the follow-up section for next week because it has not arrived yet. And the last question is, do you know when Urban Farmhouse Gathering 2 is shipping? So we will get an update on that. And then there's a question, if you could buy 2 bolts of fabric, what color would you pick for versatility? I would pick 20708-36 because that's my favorite white on white dot. And then I would probably pick 9900-200 because I like that background. It goes with most of the designers I like. I'm doing the Spring Brook Blossom Stitch Along, but I'm making all my flowers into sunflowers. Oh, that's awesome. I love the generous fabrics in the monthly sewing kits. Thank you. I just ordered the Kitty Corn Fat Quarter Bundle. I can't wait to get it. Me too. I ordered it last night, and I was hoping it was on my desk before I got to work, and it was. How often do I clean and oil my machine? I did that yesterday, actually, and yes, yesterday my machine was really loud, so I oiled it. Are you attending the Garden of Quilts in Utah in September? So Lori's only doing one class this year. I'm going to try to go. It depends on my daughter's dance schedule. So as long as there's not something interfering with my daughter's dance schedule or my son, one of my sons is going to start playing football. So as long as it doesn't conflict with those, I will be there. But my kids, if my kids have something, I'm always there. Any update on Christmas in July? It's going to be Christmas in August because everything's behind. Have I ever watched Behavior Panel? No, have no idea what that is. I'll have to Google that. I love how you want to redecorate another part of the house to coordinate with a quilt. I can relate. Yes, I've almost gone overboard with my yellow and white decorating. I think I'm annoying Kevin because he's kind of been looking at me like, can you stop? Is the Merry and Bright fabric in yet? We'll look real quick. It says, I see other stores have it. We load our fabric the same day we get it, and it is in stock. So yeah, it's all in stock. Yep, it's all in stock and online. I love your live streams. Thank you for doing them. Thank you for watching. I still think it's crazy that you guys watch. I sometimes think, why do they watch me? I'm crazy. Acorn Precision Glue is out of stock. Will it be back soon? I have a ton of it on order and I don't have a date. We'll put that on the follow-up section, but I have a ton of it ordered. So we'll add that and I'll have to reach out to them today to see. How do you square a sawtooth star block? So I would use triangles on a roll, piece it normally, and just trim the edges. What stitch length do I use for regular patchwork, half square triangles, and binding? So I do a stitch length that's probably too small for most people. When I'm stitching a regular stitch length, I usually do a 1.5. Now when you see it on the camera, it looks like it's on a 2.0 because of the angle. But when I stitch with regular stitch length, that's 1.5, super hard to pull out. So if you make a mistake, it's super pain in the butt. My triangles on a roll, I usually do 1.2. For binding, I'll use like a 2.0. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that you guys watch. We're always open to suggestions. Put any kind of comments you have for me in the comment section. I'm always, the way that I did the strip sets today, that was completely done just because you guys suggested it and I figured I could do it. So anything I can do to help you guys in your sewing room, I'm going to always do. I'm going to always show you anything that I think might be helpful for you guys. So the more comments, the better. I hope you guys have a great weekend and I'll see you next Friday.